Hi, fifth graders. Today we're going to be doing Unit 6, Lesson 16, Compare Products. Let's compare products. Decide if each statement is true or false. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. 4/5 times 100 is 120. Well, there's a couple of ways I can think about this. I remember that when I multiply fractions, I have to put the whole number over 1, and then I just multiply across, right? So this would be 4 times 100 is 400, and 5 times 1 is 5. Then I remember that 400 divided by 5. I can think of that fraction like 400 divided by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put 400 in my dividend, and my divisor is 5. 5 will not go into 4, but 5 will go into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. And I can already see that that's not going to be the answer, right? And then I bring this down, and I'm going to have 80. Yes, 80. So I'm going to say that it is false. I think that it would equal 80. All right, let's move on to the next one. So now it's asking me 4/5 times 100 is less than 100. And I've already figured out that it is less than 100, so I'm going to say that this one is true. True, it is less than 100. It's 80, isn't it? Okay. 4/5 times 100 is 80. And we've already figured that out, so I'm going to say that that one is true. That one is true. All right. Oops. Delete all that. All right, we're going straight into Activity 1, where Kieran, Noah, and Alina each ran as far as they could in 1 hour. Alina ran 3/4 of a 5-mile trail. Noah ran half of a 5-mile trail, and Kieran ran 1 1/4 of a 5-mile trail. List the distances the students ran in increasing order. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. All right, let's get into this. All right, so really what I'm thinking about are these fractions, right? So Noah ran half. I know that this is going to be the greatest amount, so I can put Kieran last, so the increasing order. So Kieran ran the furthest with 1 1/4 of 5 miles. So he ran the most. So I need to know, is 3/4 or 1/2, which one is the smallest and which one is bigger, right? Well, if I am plotting it, here's 1 and here is 0. I know that half is right here. And half, if I'm going to compare it to fourths, I can say half is the same as 2/4, right? So if I cut this into fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4, this would be 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. So half is smaller, so that's going to be Noah. So Noah, spell it right, Miss Lemoyne. Noah ran half of 5 miles. And so that's the smallest amount. And Alina ran 3/4 of 5 miles. So she ran second amount, and then Kieran was last. All right, so I listed the students in increasing order of what they ran. Let's see what else we have to do. Okay, so now we're going to fill in the blanks to make each statement true. So let's make sure that we have that information again. You probably have it in your books. Noah was half. Remember, it was 5 miles. Alina was second with 3/4 miles. And who was Kieran? Kieran ran the most with 1 1/4 mile. All right, so we're going to fill in the blanks to make each statement true, and we're going to explain it. Diego ran farther than Noah, but not as far as Kieran. Diego. So Diego's not up there, is he? He ran further than Noah, so he's somewhere in here, but not as far as Kieran. So he could have run anywhere from a half a mile to 1.25 miles, right? So let's say, are we just making up? I guess we can just make it up. We can say he ran as much as Alina, 3/4. Lynn ran farther than Kieran, but not as twice as far as Kieran. So we need to go a little further here. Erase those things so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to get a different color here. All right, so he ran further, she ran further than Kieran, but not twice as far as Kieran. Not twice as far as Kieran. So I could say that twice as far would be 1 + 1 is 2, and a fourth is what? So if this is 0, and this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my half, or 2/4, and this is 1/4. So 2/4 is a half, right? So twice as far would be 2 1/2. So we could say that he ran 2 miles. Or no, it's 1/4 of the trail, 1/4 of a 5-mile trail. So we could say 1 2/4. We could say 1 3/4. 1.5 is the same as 1 2/4. We could say 1 3/4. We could say all the way up to 2.5, couldn't we? Tyler ran farther than Noah, but not as far as Alina. So Tyler is somewhere in here, right? Tyler is between 1/2 and 3/4 over here. So somewhere in here. So what could we say? We have to find something that's in between 1/2 and 3/4, don't we? So instead of doing just fourths, so there's 0, there's 1/2, which is the same as 2/4, and here's 1. We could make it eighths, couldn't we? So here's a fourth, and there's 3/4. So our eighths would be in here. So let's make sure that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be 8/8, right? So if he ran between 1/4 and 1/2, 1/4, and 3/4. So 3/4 is over here. So I could pick any number in between here, right? No, any number in between here. 1/2 and 3/4. 1/2 and 3/4. There we go. So I'm going to pick right here. This number here. What number would that be? Well, if these are eighths, this is 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. So I'm going to say 5/8. Are there other numbers in here? Yeah, but we would have to cut up our bar even further, right? We could cut it up into tenths and see if a number between 1/2 and 3/4 existed. All right. So I'm going to erase that and see what they ask me. Are there any words or phrases that are important to include on our display? We could add things like halves, fourths, eighths, all kinds of words we could add to our display. 1 1/4 times 5 miles. Whose distance does this represent? Well, this represented Kieran, right? Kieran ran 1 1/4, didn't he? What multiplication expression represents the number of miles Noah ran? Well, remember that Noah ran, what was Noah's? I'm sorry, I forgot. Half. Oops, get my pen. 1/2 of means multiply 5 miles. So that would be Noah's. And then we could also do Alina's, couldn't we? How do you decide how to order the links that each statement ran? Student, not statement. I drew a number line, didn't I? I drew a number line for each one so that I could see it. Tyler ran farther than Noah, but not as far as Alina. Tyler ran. Remember, we had to figure out what number was between 1/2 and 3/4. And in order to do that, I had to cut my bar into, there's fourths. Now I'm going to cut it into eighths. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, which is the same as a half, which is the same as 2/4, 5/8. And the way that I found that out was that, remember, this is Noah, and here's Alina. I had to draw a number line, and I had to cut that number line into more and more pieces to figure out what that was. What numbers make sense and why? And we just talked about that. Okay, I could have used any fraction that was bigger than a half but less than 3/4. It has to be bigger than a half so that Tyler runs farther than Noah, and it has to be less than 3/4 so that Elena runs farther than Tyler. All right, let's look at the next activity. I'm going to erase this. All right, so we're going to write in less than or greater than, in each blank to make each equation true. Explain or show your reasoning. So 5/4 of 100 is going to be greater than 100, I think, because 5/4 is going to be more than 1, isn't it? Right? Remember, 4/4 is 1. So 4/4 times 100 is saying the same thing as 1 times 100. But 5/4 is more than 1, right? So that means that this is going to be more than 100. Okay. 5/7 times 2 is what of 2? Well, 5/7 is less than 1. 5/7 is less than 1. So that means I'm taking part of 2. So we could write that out. 5/7 times 2 over 1 is going to be 10 over 7. So 10 over 7 is more than 1, but how much more? So 7 goes into 10 one time with 3 left over. So 1 3/7. So that's going to be less than 2 because I'm taking part of 2. You understand that? So I'm not taking more than 2, I'm taking part of 2. It's a fraction of 2. Now in this one, I'm taking a fraction of 50, and that's going to definitely be less than 100. And I could prove that by saying 1/3 times 50 over 1 is 50/3. And again, in a different color, I could divide that out. 3 goes into 50 one time. 3 goes into 5 one time with 2 left over. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18, and that's going to be 2 left over. And then I could keep going, or I could say 16 2/3, which is definitely less than 100. So when I'm taking a fraction of a whole number, I'm going to get less than that whole number. Fraction of a whole number, I'm going to get less than that whole number. All right. Write a number in each box. Let me go ahead and erase this so we can read what we have to do. Write a number in each box to make the equation true. Explain or show your reasoning. So I want something over 9 times 50 to be less than 50. So this is going to be a fraction of 50. I could choose any number less than 9, right? So I could use 7/9. I could do 2/9. I could do any number that's less than 9 to make this a fraction of 50, and that would be less than 50. So now we want it to equal 50. That means this number has to be 1. And 9 over 9 is the same as 1. 1 times 50 is going to equal 50. In this one, I'm going to make this a number that makes this a bigger number than a fraction and a bigger number than 1 in order for it to be more than 50. So I'm going to choose 11/9 times 50 is going to be bigger than 50. And I can prove that by saying 11/9 times 50 over 1. So 50. Actually, I could not do 50. I could do 11 times 5, couldn't I? And just add a 0 to the end. And that's the same as multiplying it times 50. So that's going to be 550 over 9. And then when I divide that out, it's going to be way more than 50, isn't it? 9 does not go into 5, but 9 goes into 55 6 times. with 10 left over, and 9 goes into 10 one time with 1 left over. So it's going to be 61 and 1/9, and that is greater than 50. All right. So if you did not understand, slow it down, go back, rewind, and look at this again. But I used reasoning about fractions, what I know about fractions, so that I didn't have to do all this work, right? I know that if I multiply a fraction of a number, it's going to be smaller than that number. If I multiply a 1 times that number, it's going to equal that number. If I multiply an improper fraction because it's greater than 1, that's going to make that times that's going to be greater than that number. Okay, let's see what they ask us next. All right, we have to do another one. This time we have to do the denominators, don't we? Write a number in each box to make the equation true. Explain or show your reasoning. All right, so I am looking for a number that is less than 50. So what could I multiply this by? 50 to make it less than. So this is going to have to be a fraction. I could do 9/12, right? So this fraction of 50 is going to make it less than 50. In this one, again, I'm going to make it 9 because I want it to equal 1. 1 times 50 is 50. And for this one, I'm going to make it an improper fraction so that this number is greater than 1. I want it to be greater than 1 because when I multiply something greater than 1 by 50, it's going to be greater than 50. So I'm going to make this 9/4, which is greater than 1, isn't it? That's 2 1/4. All right. So hopefully you understand that. Let's see what they ask us to do next. How do you know 1 over 1/50th times 50 is greater than 50? I know that because this fraction is less than 1. So I'm taking a fraction of the 50, right? I'm taking a fraction of 50. 1/50th times 50 over 1. Actually, that one is kind of funky, isn't it? 1/50th times 50 is going to equal 1, isn't it? How do you know it's less than 50? 1/50th of 50 is 1. 1 times 50 is 50. This one would be equals. How do you know that 10 over 50 times 50 would be less than 50? Again, this is a fraction less than 1. So if I work that out, 10 over 50 times 50 over 1 is going to be 500 over 50. And if I divide that out, 500, or 50 divided by 500, 50 goes into 50 one time. So the answer is going to be 10. So this side's going to equal to 10, and that is less than 50. But I knew that because this number is less than 50, less than 1. So when I multiply it times 50, it's going to be less than 50. It's going to take a part of 50, isn't it? It's just going to take a part of it. How do you know that 9 over 90 times 50 is less than 50? Again, this is a fraction, and when I take a fraction of 50, it's going to be less than 50. I don't know why it keeps disappearing on me. 9/90ths is less than 1. 9/90ths times 50 is equal to 5, and that's less than 50. Again, how did you find the number that makes this equation true? I needed this fraction to be 1, and only 9/9 equals 1. 1 times 50 is 50. All right. Today we compared the value of a product to the value of the factors. What patterns did you notice? Do you think these patterns will always be true? I noticed that if I multiply a number by a fraction less than 1, the product gets smaller. So when I multiplied 9, oops, I don't know why it doesn't take that. Okay. 9/50ths times 50, I always got a number that was less than 50 because this is less than 1. So it gets smaller. The product always is smaller. Okay. And then when I multiplied a fraction greater than 1, say 50/9 times 50, so this number is greater than 1, it's always going to equal a number that is greater than 50. So the fraction tells me what the answer is going to look like. Oops, I didn't answer that last question, did I? Do you think these patterns will always be true? Yes, if I multiplied a number by half, it would be smaller. It would just be half of that, right? So 12 times half is going to be half of 12, which is 6. If I multiply a number by 2, it will be bigger. It will be double. 6 times 2 is 12. All right, here we are at our cool down. Is 1/8 of 20 times 20 greater or less than 20? I'm going to say that it is going to be less than, and I don't even need to work it out because 1/8 is less than 1. But I could also prove that by saying 1/8 times 20 over 1 is 20/8. And 8 will go into 20. See how many times? 2 times with 4 left over. So that's going to be 2 4/8. And that is definitely less than 20. So 1/8 times 20 is less than 20. And I knew that because this was less than 1. This number is greater than 1, so the answer is going to be greater than 20. So 10/8 times 20 is greater than 20. And I could prove that by doing 10 over 8 times 20 over 1. 10 times 20 is 200 over 8. That's going to be a really big number, isn't it? 8 goes into 200. Over here, I saw that it went in 2 times with 4 left over, 25. And 25 is greater than 20. All right, boys and girls, thank you for watching again today. I hope you enjoyed Lesson 16, and I hope to see you again for Lesson 17 of Unit 6. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe the videos if you would like me to continue to make them.